I think that this person has a huge issue with men. Have you seen clips of her where she's on stage encouraging her fans to scream, "Fuck the patriarchy"? Seen these interviews where she complained about how oppressed she is? She appears to out Matt Healy for breaking his sobriety and for trying to cop some prescription from a friend of a friend. Well, all of this has really gotten under Taylor Swift's skin. She is reportedly fuming. She feels violated by the release of those texts between her and Blake Lively. And of course, she's fuming. They make her look terrible. They reveal a side of her that almost no one has seen, at least publicly. This has generated some of the worst organic PR that I've seen of her entire career. So I would be upset too if I were her, and she has brought it all on herself. And if she wants to blame anyone, blame the person whose lawsuit necessitated the release of these texts. That is Blake Lively, your BFF, Taylor. But I've been getting the last couple of days, I have been getting a lot of shit from Swifties, from a number of Taylor Swift fans. And it's primarily because I have revealed to a lot of people who weren't even aware of this or weren't even following her music or don't pay attention to lyrics. I've revealed the degree to which this woman sets out in her music to belittle men and shame men in her life. And if this were an even playing field, if her exes were also belittling her, that might be one thing. But in fact, nobody says anything about her post breakup, particularly not the two guys that I want to talk about right here that I've been getting so much shit from Swifties for discussing. So we've got Joe Alwyn, longtime ex-boyfriend. They lived together and were in a relationship for a hell of a long time. I think it was 8 years, maybe 6 years. Then Taylor dumped Joe Alwyn so then she could pursue a relationship with Matty Healy, the front man for the 1975. Seems like she left Joe Alwyn and then Matt Healy dumped her like a hot potato. And of course, neither of these guys post breakup say a bad word about her. In fact, neither of them are on record as ever saying a bad word about her, period, or complaining about her, period. They're not. They never did. And yet, what does she do? She, of course, blabs in her music as if she's writing into a diary that other people are not going to see. She blabs about what she claims are some of their worst traits. And in Joe Alwyn's case, what that means is she belittles him for what appears to me to be a serious case of clinical depression, a long-standing struggle with sadness. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Apparently, it was just really annoying for Taylor. It was really a drag. So she disses him for that in her song So Long London. And then when it comes to Matt Healy, what she decides to do there in a song called The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, she appears to out Matt Healy for breaking his sobriety and for trying to cop some prescription painkillers from a friend of a friend as a part of his long-standing admitted addiction to opioids and prescription pills. Now, this is something that Matt Healy has talked about before. He went to rehab for an addiction to heroin and prescription opioids and was supposed to be clean, still drinks, even drinks on stage, as some people have pointed out, but claims to be clean from the opioids and the pills, right? Until Miss Taylor, in her song, for no reason whatsoever, completely uncalled for, completely unprovoked, decides to out him for secretly trying to get painkillers, pills from a friend of a friend. And of course, she ridicules him for that and also takes a jab at him for the fact that apparently this dealer or this friend ghosted him. So I want to get into this briefly because a lot of people don't know. And look, I've been getting, like I said, a lot of shit from people, from Swifties, Taylor Swift fans, and even non-Taylor Swift fans who don't know what's going on. And they're like, hey, what are you doing here, Kurtz? Why are you going after Taylor Swift like this? Oh, and I posted about this. Here were the tweets that got so many people pissed off. And these tweets, by the way, are blowing up. So, but let's talk about Joe Alwyn first. I wrote, no wonder Taylor called Justin Baldoni a bitch. Taylor Swift thinks that male sadness is annoying and men suffering from depression are a real drag. This is, of course, my opinion, right? I don't know Taylor personally, but Taylor tells us, y'all, that she talks about her life through her songs. My songs, she says, are my outlet for discussing my relationship. I write, no wonder Taylor called Justin Baldoni a bitch. Taylor Swift thinks that male sadness is annoying and men suffering from depression are a real drag. Here's a longtime ex that Taylor Swift publicly belittled for no reason. London actor Joe Alwyn never said a word about her publicly, and he values his privacy. He is not one of those, by the way, one of those celebrities who's out there calling the paps and who's trying to get all this attention. Very much the opposite. So, of course, Taylor dragged him through the mud in her song So Long London and belittled his battles with clinical depression. And yes, I did describe her as a spoiled narc. I don't know if she is or not. I see that she treats her employees really well. Maybe in some facets of her life, she's a real sweetheart. But this behavior, at least, I think, is despicable. And the way that she conspired with and talks to Blake Lively is pretty despicable, too. So anyway, so notice how she doesn't seem to feel a bit of genuine concern for Joe's struggles in this song, at least. Only irritation at the burden that she felt his deep sadness placed on her. And that is right. So Long London, as well as many of her songs in which she's belittling her exes and belittling other men, they focus on her own aggrieved experience and not what the man was going through. Whatever. It's fine if people want to talk about that. But again, if you're insulting someone or dragging out the darkest aspects of someone else's personality or the struggles they've gone through, and they're not doing that to you publicly, and they don't want you to be doing that to them. Joe Alwyn has expressed in interviews that he wants his relationship and his history with Taylor to remain private. It's very obvious. And yet she's doing this. So, she puts that out there. And then, of course, the focus is only on her experience and how hard it was for her and what a drag it was for her. Notice how she doesn't express a genuine concern for him, only irritation at the burden that she felt his deep sadness placed on her. How dare he? What a downer. Sweetheart, Taylor, I know it must be hard to have your shallow, self-centered, bubblegum teenage view of the world infringed on by your depressive boyfriend. What a drag for you. No wonder, Taylor, you ended up with that loose, grinning, fuzzy-brained oaf, Travis Kelce. I don't think that you can handle anyone with feelings that don't fit onto a friendship bracelet. Apparently, this feminist has no patience for male pain, and you get that. It comes through loud and clear. But this is, here's Joe Alwyn here. And these are the lyrics of Taylor's song about him and his depression. She writes, "You sacrificed us to the gods of your bluest days, and I'm just getting the color back in my face." Imagine writing that about someone, even an ex who struggled with clinical depression quite severely, it sounds like. And you're saying, oh, phew, I'm just now getting the color back in my face. She also writes, "I stopped trying to make him," Joe Alwyn laughed, "stopped trying to drill the safe, thinking, how much sad did you think I had? Did you think I had in me? Oh, the tragedy." I hate it when people, by the way, when they minimize depression and the tragedy of the world with that. Oh, you're being dramatic. Oh, the tragedy. Oh, the tragedy. Well, actually, Taylor, it is a tragic world and a tragic life. Just read the book of Ecclesiastes. Well, I doubt you're much into reading the Bible. So we've got that. I mean, to me, that's just inexcusable. And then let's see what she did to Matt Healy. So in this post I wrote, Taylor Swift loves to belittle and shame men. Here are the lyrics where Taylor Swift attempted to out Matt Healy for secretly breaking his sobriety and falling back into opioid and prescription drug addiction. And by the way, don't assume that she's telling the truth here because, first of all, a woman scorned, as we know, but she definitely wants people to know she's talking about Matt Healy here. Especially because she makes a reference in these lyrics to his Jehovah's Witness suit, and that is a trademark of Matty Healy, is the skinny black tie and the black and white suit that he wears that looks like a Jehovah's Witness or Mormon missionary. So she wanted us to know it was him, and she does that with these guys. She doesn't include their name, but she gives us just enough identifiers or more than enough identifiers to know exactly who she's talking about, and it irritates me so much that she hides behind this excuse. Oh, we don't know who I'm talking about. I didn't use their name. When it's so patently obvious that not only does she want us to know who she's talking about, she's wanting to drag them through the mud and lower people's estimation of them, lower people's opinion of them. What else is this supposed to do? I can't believe that she thought this was okay, especially since, again, Healy never said an unkind thing about her. No wonder his mother, Denise Welch, complained about Taylor Swift dissing her son in these songs when she sat down with Andy Cohen on his show. So Maddie Healy's mother, Denise Welch, went on Andy Cohen's show because actually she's famous in Great Britain as a talk show host and actress. She went on Andy Cohen's show and they talked about a lot of things. And when the subject came to Taylor Swift, she said that she was happy not to have her as a daughter-in-law, happy that things didn't work out with Maddie Healy, and she expressed frustration at the fact that, oh, you're not supposed to talk about Taylor after a breakup. The men that she's with are not supposed to talk about her, but then Taylor, goes and writes a whole album about it. Well, I'm sure Denise Welch, Matt Healy's mother, did not appreciate this kind of songwriting. The title of the song, by the way, is The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. She loves to belittle and shame men. So here we've got a picture of Taylor, and this is Matt Healy, who is now with the model Gabriette. He's engaged to the model Gabriette, and she is a gigantic step up from Taylor Swift. But you can see him here in his trademark suit, the Jehovah's Witness suit there. But here are the lyrics in question. I mean, the entire song is about him, various negative things about him. But she writes, was any of it true? Gazing at me starry-eyed in your Jehovah's Witness suit. Who the fuck was that guy? You tried to buy some pills from a friend of friends of mine. They just ghosted you. Now you know what it feels like. And I'm sure that Taylor, in her mind, I'm sure that she feels justified in saying this about Matt Healy because he supposedly ghosted her. And by the way, we don't know what happened. There are always two sides in a relationship and in a breakup to the story. And frankly, I don't think that Taylor Swift has a lot of credibility in my mind after seeing what she is capable of in the Blake Lively conversations and the Baldoni situation. But whether or not Matt Healy ghosted her, whether or not he behaved somewhat disreputably with how he ended that relationship, if indeed he did, which is big if, that does not give Taylor Swift carte blanche to go out then and to defame him in really one of the worst ways possible. Maybe Matt Healy did not want people to know that he relapsed. You know, as they say, relapse is a form of recovery, is a part of recovery. And the last thing that someone needs to be doing with a recovering addict is shame them for slipping up. That did not need to be announced to the world. Maybe he didn't want people to know that. Maybe he didn't want his friends or family or fans, yes, to know that. It is a complete cop out to say that she has to write about this stuff. Oh, she just has to be honest about her experiences because it's her art. What else will she write about? Well, I don't know. Maybe the other 99% of experiences that make up the human condition. If you, as an artist, literally cannot write without publicly denigrating your exes, then maybe you're not much of an artist. I'm not too impressed with you as an artist if you're telling me that the only way that you can express yourself is by denigrating your exes and debasing them and debasing yourself in the process. And I do think that Taylor Swift has a problem with misandry. I do think that she is a man hater. And as a lot of you know, I am in no way enchanted with the modern manosphere, which I think is completely out of control. And I hate reading that angry shit. But I also am very much against modern Me Too victim oriented feminism. I don't think that there's anything actually feminist about that orientation toward the world. And in my mind, Taylor Swift is emblematic of that. And I've shown you all on my channel, I've shown you the reel that I found online of her biggest feminist moments. And it's actually a sad collection of the angriest and most ill conceived public moments of this woman's career. And it tells you that she is very angry at men and that she has a problem with men. And by the way, her fans know it too. You know, I've been hearing from a number of conservatives. There have been a number of conservative fans of mine who have challenged my view of Taylor Swift and have said, okay, all right, maybe she got involved in this soap opera with Baldoni and Blake Lively a little too much. Maybe she got carried away. But this is someone who, she's still a great role model for women. And look, she's settling down now. The conservatives love to talk about that, settling down. Yeah, settling down at the age of 36 after focusing on her career and becoming a billionaire. That's not the trad life that I think some of you think it is. And more power to her for pursuing that life. I have no problem with that, with her career, her success. But I just do not think that she is a nice person. And I think that, yes, she is a misandrist. And I think that she is promoting in various ways misandry in her public statements and in some of her lyrics. And conservatives will say to me, "Oh, but overall, she's still a good role model." And I will say to them, "Do you realize how much she encourages man-hating misandry? Have you seen clips of her at concerts where she's on stage and she is encouraging her fans to scream fuck the patriarchy? Have you seen these interviews where she complains about how oppressed she is?" So I have been, as I said, getting a lot of attacks from Taylor Swift fans, from Swifties, but I will say that a lot of it has been them actually agreeing with my assessment of Taylor Swift here. Taylor Swift loves to belittle and shame men. Don't threaten me with a good time. In other words, threatening men, belittling men, that's a good time, right? Another person writes, exactly, fuck the patriarchy. Okay. This person writes, the idea that Swifties hating men is some secret we've been working hard to hide is hilarious. All real feminism needs to have some man hating aspects. These are not outliers, by the way. I've been seeing today tons of this, tons of Swifties retweeting my tweet or replying to it and saying, yeah, hell yeah, we do hate men, or hell yeah, we'd like to see her shame and belittle men. This is not an outlier of an opinion here. I'm getting tons of it. So here's another one. This is why we love her, she says, because she loves to belittle and shame men. I mean, there are just so many of them. If you look at my notifications, it's just one after another. I think that this person has a huge issue with men. I do think that this person is a misandrist. I do think that that those feelings and opinions of hers on that point do have an impact, particularly on younger women. And I do see a lot of Swifties online endorsing that perspective. And so, to me, the significance of what has happened in the last week, these messages between her and Lively coming out, revealing fully this aspect of Taylor Swift, it's important because it is a reminder to us. It should be a reminder to us, or maybe a wake up call for some of you, that this woman, who is the most significant recording artist of our time, arguably, that this woman does have some really problematic views, and that we should be aware of it. And I'm so glad that her BFF, Blake Lively, has sucked her into this whole fiasco with Justin Baldoni. And as a result, we are finally seeing the mask slip. We're finally seeing the other side of Taylor Swift that's really been there right in front of us all along. I'm out here fighting the Swifties, standing up for what's right. If you support my work, if you enjoy my work, check out my links below. Your support is appreciated. And I appreciate everybody who has contributed. I'm going to start regularly looking at owners and recognizing them formally, not with last names, because I don't want to get anyone in trouble. But I have several the last month of my donors. Lisa C, as always, thank you so much. JD, Tad Michael, Hans L, Jennifer R, and Rebecca S. And like I said, thank you so much. Couldn't do it without you. I'll see everybody later.